This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I am the host on this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Tonight, we're going to continue our amazing journey in our nation as we flow together as one, forming a more perfect union, loving our flag that's going to always be behind us that represents our nation, our presidential seal to remind us to pray for the president of this nation and his cabinet. We're going to continue to remember the 265,900,000 working Americans who were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet last year. We can't forget them. There's a process of coming out. Listen, we're moving forward. We got a new leader. We've got a president that's making a lot happen. People are bucking, but people are joining on and getting on the train with us because we're going somewhere and it's expecting us when we get there. So tonight we're going to look at, tonight our discussion, we're going to look at the resistance to positive change. There are those that resist, and that's the human nature when a lot of times people their belief system is being challenged and there's cognitive dissonance. They've had a belief system and it's like things are flowing differently now. So that's what's going on in our nation. And but I'm telling you what, that resistance will change and shift into something very positively powerful if you turn the news off. Some of you need to turn the news off. They lie. It's propaganda. The View is part of it. Do you know they were getting, Whoopi Goldberg was getting USAID money through a grant? They were using that USAID money for all this diversity thing and specific agendas, promoting specific agendas about sexuality, all that kind of stuff. It is crazy what they were doing with that money, but that has been stopped. Their gravy train has been disrupted. This is what's going on. There's a lot of what's been going on. They were totally unchecked. So there's resistance. There's resistance. All of these amazing things that have been happening in our nation in a very short period of time, there are people that are resisting this positive change. So what does it look like to collectively embrace positive change as a nation? How would that operate? Why would people resist it? So our clinical perspective is we're going to dissect why we take a stand for such change. Remember, I'm always saying we're going somewhere and it's expecting us when we get there. Come and go with me. As we can all see, there's a resistance to improving our nation from some factions on Capitol Hill and all over our nation. Churches is coming from pulpits, from the pulpit to the pew. All kinds of resistance. So let's reason together regarding all of these dynamics. A Haitian national charged with unaliving 3 family members in North Carolina arrived in our country last year in 2024 through Joe Biden's widely criticized. I want y'all to really lean into what we're going to talk about tonight, because I found out in my research and I don't look at the news. I dig, I cross-reference, I research. And what I found out about this, I was like, I didn't know. Listen to me. Some of you all, this is going to wake you up. I know it in my sanctified soul. My mind, my will, my emotions, my intellect, my drive, and my desire knows that some of you are going to, your eyes are going to open. And I encourage you to share this because it is an eye opener. Come go with me. A Haitian national charged with unaliving 3 family members in North Carolina arrived in our country last year in 2024 through Joe Biden's widely criticized migrant flights program. And they were saying, we're not flying anyone in, like with the COVID-19. They were dropping people that were positive off in communities overnight. Oh, yeah. But what were they requiring us to do related to all that? Now, according to federal immigration officials, this person was brought in. Now, authorities in Fayetteville, North Carolina, arrested 26-year-old McKindy Darboz. McKindy Darboz. After responding to a gruesome crime scene in February of last year, police discovered the bodies of a 77-year-old lady, Miss Beatrice Deser, a 13-year-old and a 4-year-old, all suffering from fatal stab wounds. Officers found Darboz at the scene, reportedly covered in blood, and took him into custody. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, confirmed that Darboz legally entered the country in July 2024 through, now this is how he got here, quote unquote, legally, through Joe Biden's Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela mass parole program. It was called the CHNV. That went over my head. I knew generalities, but I didn't know the specificity of what I'm going to share tonight. So when President Trump had that presidential debate with Kamala Harris, and she was writing him off to be a nut job, when he was saying they're emptying their prisons and they're sending people here. Okay. Oh, yeah. This was a part of what he was talking about. The man is not crazy. Now, listen, what happened? It was called the CHNV, Mass Parole Program. C for Cuba, H for Haiti, N for Nicaragua, V for Venezuela, the CHNV Mass Parole Program. You got to know what the Democratic Party was doing, what the Democrats were doing. What was the Biden-Harris cabal doing to us? Hold on. When I heard that there was a CHNV Mass Parole Program, I said to myself, stop right there. Were you aware that there was such a program, a parole program to bring in people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela? In other words, these were people who had been in prison in those countries, and they were brought in here. Let that soak in. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Let it soak in. Make it make sense. The immediate question that came to my mind was, were these people vetted? Stick with me. This is a podcast that I think is going to open up some eyes that have been blinded and have been stubborn. You need to know what they did to us. This program has come under intense scrutiny for allowing tens of thousands of migrants into the country each month, despite concerns over security risks and eligibility vetting, guys. We have to keep our country secure. Darboz, who didn't speak English, was interviewed by ICE agents in Creole after his arrest. Authorities also reported that surveillance footage captured him walking through the home with a knife before investigators recovered a bloodied weapon in his room. The CHNV, I'm gonna refer to CHNV, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela program. When did it start? When our country was enthralled in COVID-19, it was launched in 2022 under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, their debacle. So they added to our woes. Let's bring in people from prison. Let's parole them in CHNV and bring them in as our country has been thrust into an orchestrated mess. It was initially promoted as a way to, this is what they said, well, it's going to ease the border crossings. Why are we doing border crossings anyway? And since President Trump has been in there, the border crossings, the illegal immigrants coming across our border decreased in 30 days. It decreased by 94%. It has gotten up to, my understanding at some points, to 99% decrease of illegal immigrants coming across our border. All kind of stuff was going on. A mess. But the Biden-Harris cabal said, well, man, it was promoted as a way to ease border crossings by allowing certain migrants to fly. We flew them in to the United States airports instead of entering unlawfully. That was what they said. Well, it's our way of addressing the border. However, it faced mounting criticism after multiple violent crimes were linked to beneficiaries of the policy. Earlier this year, Venezuelan national Jose Ibarra also admitted under CHNV was charged with unaliving a University of Georgia student. President Trump says these people aren't coming in. They've got to be vetted. He ended the program, President Trump, by executive order on his first day back in office. Thank God. However, ICE officials have confirmed that more than 50,000 migrants had already been paroled into the United States before the policy was revoked. President Trump's battle to restore law and order is being deliberately undermined by activist judges who have asserted themselves into national security matters that they don't have any authority to control. They're rogue judges. We did a podcast on rogue judges. Go back and listen to that. But he's getting a victory in that area. But that's the battleground, the rogue judges that Obama and Biden put in place. We all know that a federal judge was blocking President Trump's deportation of suspected Venezuelan gang members. That was the latest example of lawfare being used as a political weapon against our president. His focus was what, guys? Protection. That was his focus. He doesn't hate these people. He's got his face set like flint to protect us. He don't give 2 cents for these gang members that want to come here and want to be a part of the American dream. If they didn't come in the right way, no. So we got this, what was his name? Judge James Boasberg. A known leftist ally ruled against the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act, but it came back that President Trump, in spite of this man's efforts, that they said that he could use it. The Alien Enemies Act was used to remove nearly 300 members of a violent gang from Venezuela. His ruling came after lawsuits from the ACLU and Democracy Forward. Man, that democracy word has been abused over and over. But they were the ones that filed the lawsuits, the ACLU and Democracy Forward. It was focused on protecting the Venezuelan gang members. These are organizations that have spent years working to dismantle President Trump's America First agenda. Attorney General Pam Bondi immediately challenged the ruling, arguing that the courts lack jurisdiction over presidential immigration powers. The Department of Justice has accused Boasberg of abusing his authority and using his bench to interfere with President Trump's constitutional right to protect the nation. He's trying to legislate from the bench. The administration had already began deporting gang members when Boasberg issued an oral directive to halt the process. The DOJ, Department of Justice, DOJ, rejected this move, stating that verbal rulings do not carry legal weight. Yet the judge has continued his efforts to obstruct President Trump's agenda by demanding sensitive details on the operation. It's none of your business. He's in the judicial branch. His job is to interpret the laws. Those illegal immigrants, those Venezuelan gang members do not have constitutional rights. No, they don't. This ruling is part of a larger strategy by leftist judges to sabotage President Trump's overall presidency. The same legal manipulators who weaponized the courts to attack President Trump while he was out of office through orchestrated lawfare, Letitia James in New York, who's now on the hook for the very thing that she said that President Trump did. All these people. The same legal manipulators who weaponized the courts to attack President Trump while he was out of office are now using these same tactics to cripple his ability to govern. And he's trying to protect us from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Their end game is to keep him from enacting the policies that the American people overwhelmingly voted for. We voted for this. We want to be protected. We want our borders protected. Despite these efforts, President Trump has vowed to fight back. His administration is appealing every ruling that they do and working to ensure that no activist judge can overstep their authority to block his immigration policies. That man that unalived those precious people, go look him up. Go look up those beautiful girls and that woman that lost their lives. You heard their names. Go look them up and see. Y'all go look them up. Some of you, it's going to be a wake-up call for you to see him and them. I'm happy to say that our president prevailed. Federal judge, in that situation, all those dynamics, federal judge Stephanie Haynes, she ruled that President Trump can use the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelan citizens who are shown to be gang members of that Venezuelan gang. Oh, yeah. To God be the glory. Congratulations. Thank you, Judge Haynes. Thank you, President Trump, for fighting on our behalf to protect us. We're grateful. We are grateful. The left may try to stop him with endless legal hurdles, but President Trump remains committed to delivering on his promise to make America great again. Making America safe is an integral part of making America great again. MAGA. All of these dynamics have major implications for us as a nation, which warrants this question. What are we willing to stand up for, guys? And why should we even stand up in the first place? Obviously, we're talking about major issues that affect our safety and the sheer protection of the lives of Americans. Laken Riley, this precious lady in Fayetteville, and that 13-year-old and that 4-year-old in Fayetteville, North Carolina, go look at their pictures. Why do we need to stand? Why? What would happen if we increase self-agency? This involves us beginning to make decisions for ourselves. As Americans, asserting our preferences about safety and needs without fear of repercussions. We want to be safe. We want our children safe. It's a shame that lady lost her life. They're not vetting these people. They weren't vetting these people, but President Trump is. We stand. Why do we need to stand? We stand because it may help us to have the development of boundaries. This may contribute to showing an understanding of personal boundaries, and we are more likely to set and maintain them in relationships. Can this contribute to safety? Boundaries in relationships, boundaries at our borders, boundaries in churches, boundaries in families. Boundaries. When we stand, we're setting boundaries. Might it affect our recognition of abuse? What would happen if the victim of abuse, of boundaries being violated, what would happen if they can articulate their experiences and identify elements of coercive control? Understanding that their experiences are valid and not their fault. Could understanding affect emotional regulation? When your boundaries get violated, sometimes you have emotional dysregulation. You can't get yourself together. You're anxious, you're depressed, you're overwhelmed. You can't sort things out. Your boundaries have been violated. Verbally, physically, sexually, emotionally, spiritually, financially. What would happen if we had better emotional regulation? Would an individual demonstrate improved emotional responses, managing anxiety, distress more effectively than before? Are unsafe setting of boundaries contributing factors for having this emotional dysregulation that people experience when the boundaries are violated? Of course it disrupts it. When we stand, why do we stand? Why do we need to stand for these children? Got men, had men in the showers naked with our women in the military, in schools. Why do we stand? They're sitting there, standing there traumatized. Why do we stand? Can it influence us seeking support? What would happen if individuals actively engage in seeking help from professionals, from organized efforts that are even under supervision, support groups, trusted friends and families? Can standing influence the building of new relationships? What would happen if people begin forming healthier relationships? Not bickering and fighting each other as Americans. I see these people on social media inflicting traumatic brain injuries, and it is at an epidemic level with Black Americans. It's ridiculous, and you think that Donald Trump is your problem? Come on. Donald Trump is not your problem. You don't even know what a boundary is. We need to be addressing these issues in church. Up there browbeating President Trump from the pulpit, and you got people in your congregation that are inflicting traumatic brain injuries when they get out on the street and even right there in the church, beating each other up. And you think you're glorifying God by bashing President Trump? What about if we teach people how to recognize signs of healthy versus unhealthy boundaries, guys? Listen, we're still talking about stopping the resistance to positive change. Cussing, slinging each other around, girls ripping bras off of each other. It's nuts. And you think that Donald Trump is your problem? No, he isn't. He's trying to establish boundaries, empowering us to be economically successful. He supports these structures that are being set up in churches and support groups and therapy and processes where people aren't being strapped financially to get what they need. Can standing up encourage expressing anger and grief in healthy, appropriate ways? What would happen if an individual can express feelings of anger and grief related to their experience, express it in a healthy way, instead of suppressing these feelings? When you suppress it, you stuff and you stuff and you stuff and you stuff and you pop. And that pop comes out in some really unhealthy manifestations. We see the opposite on social media. Yes, we do. Can standing promote increased safety planning? Yeah, planning for safety. What would happen if individuals show awareness and proactive steps to enhance their safety, whether physically or emotionally, in their environments? Can standing promote investing in self-care, where we stand up and say, guys, this is how we do it here. Here are the steps to solution-focused problem solving. Here are the steps to expressing, to facilitating self-care. Self-care practices, what does that look like? What would happen if we spent one Sunday or 2 Sundays a month showing something on a screen in a church where we're actually talking about these types of things instead of bashing Donald Trump from the pulpit, teaching people how to hate? Wow, teaching people the importance of their own well-being. Can standing enhance a vision for the future? What would happen if Americans express hopes and goals and aspirations for the future, indicating a shift from the survival mode to envisioning a life beyond their trauma? Could it be that these green flags indicate progress, that we will start doing this? We will start doing this. Showing progress and resilience, showcasing the journey toward healing and empowerment, guys. Oh my God. This blesses me. I know this can be done. What would happen if we promoted support and validation from professionals and loved ones, and they played a vital role in fostering these changes? Do you see why the enemy of our souls wants resisting positive change to be the way of life in America? Resistance of positive change. Teach each other to beat each other in the head and come on, stop that nonsense and madness. And learn how to have solution-focused problem-solving skills. What if we did that with these captive audiences on Sunday mornings? And then have support groups for them. And have training programs where they get 10 sessions. 10 face-to-face interactions, and it doesn't cost them a thin dime. we'd have a healthy church, we have a healthy America. What have we looked at tonight? Resistance to positive change. And from a clinical perspective, why we stand. Do we have reason to stand? Oh, yes, we do. Our posterity, our citizens. I am so committed to continue to come on this podcast. Thank you for sharing it. I believe people understanding about this parole program, they're going to understand what was done to us. They're going to understand what the Biden-Harris cabal did to us. Obama was behind all this stuff. He was with it. He was advising people on all this. This stuff, listen, this stuff has been going on. The Democratic Party has done so much to cripple us. This from slavery to sharecropping to Jim Crow to welfare. These were their policies that they pushed. And then the illegal immigration, and then all this sexualization, and Obama wouldn't even honor the police and light the White House up in blue, but he sure enough lit it up in other colors. Why? He had an agenda. With his safe school czar, Kevin Jennings, he had an agenda to indoctrinate our children. And what's going on now? Twerking and bumping and grinding, and little 4-year-olds bucking and grinding, and young men looking at her thinking it's cute. It's not cute. It's not cute. What are we doing? Guys, and the song, where those chains, where those fans at? Come on. And the song sitting up there talking about moonshine and moving and bumping and grinding. Come on. Listen to the lyrics to that song, and a 4-year-old, and the more intense this thing gets with that child, the harder she grinds. It's a shame. Somebody got to call a spade a spade. Listen, we have got to call a spade and speak solutions. No, it's not cute. No, it's not cute. It's not cute to be doing and dancing to it in the church. Talking about moonshine. Moonshine will kill you. I lost my family because of addiction and alcohol and drugs, and it's rampant across our nation, and fentanyl, and the number one groups, the two number one groups in our nation that are dying from fentanyl overdose. Number one are Black Americans, second are Native Americans. And y'all talking about moonshine, and humping and grinding, and got a 4-year-old leading the way. My God. Listen, keep coming back. Yes, we got to talk about this stuff. We got to talk about, let's talk about what we need to do differently. We have to empower each other. Guys, we got to call a spade a spade. We're going somewhere. It's expecting us when we get there. Organized efforts from the pulpit to the pew can change this nation. Get out of this hatred. Get out of all this mess. Call a spade a spade. Talk about principles. Talk about, holiness even. What will that look like? What will mental wellness look like? What will it look like as we move forward in our nation? Going from, destruction to dignity. Clinical perspective, spiritual truths. And those clinical perspectives are strategies, skills, and tools of suggestions to take. And yes, some people need to engage in the therapeutic process. You can go to JanicePons.com. You'll see that I've already done the work for you. You go to the resources page, and you can get a therapist. The therapeutic process is one of the most powerful things that you can ever do. Don't ever let anybody convince you that it's not. I heard a minister of the gospel downing therapy, downing it, while at the same time they have something set up where you got to pay for $150 for them to help you. Listen, there's room at the table for everybody, but you don't down a profession that has helped so many people that were thinking about taking their lives. You don't do that, and then you open people up, and then you get them in a spot and you don't know what to do. I'm talking the truth. Stop downing people in what they do. related to something you don't even know about. You don't know all about it. So leave it alone. And set up something where people can get help, and you can get sponsors to help pay for it, not coming from the people milking them dry. I ain't taking it back. Listen, keep coming back. People are hurting. People don't have it. And leadership has got to step up and say, you know what? We're going to help them anyway. We're going to set up structure right here, right now, to go to the core of the souls of America. Their mind, their will, their emotions, their intellect, their drive, and their desires. Listen, keep coming back. I appreciate you. I honor you. I get real serious sometimes because people are falling by the wayside. They're not making it, guys. This is my lane. They're not making it, but it has to be the lane of all of us, because us flowing together as one is us forming a more perfect union. God bless you. I love you. I love America. I love these little children. I love what's going on. It hurts me to see little 4-year-olds humping and grinding, and older people laughing at and lusting at her, and getting a picture of her and talking about, oh, look, I'm thinking the wrong. Listen, exposure. We got to talk about these things. God bless you. I love you. I really do. Let's keep praying for America. God bless you. God bless America. I'll see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.